Hello there. This is Wilbert T. Sass. That's T stands for Ted. And this is about a video for my homenetexec.com website. And for a quick full disclosure, I'm a lifelong salesperson. Uh, Field promoted to sales management at the age of 23. I started selling boxed greeting cards, colored boxed greeting cards in my neighborhood when I was 8 years old. I'm 79 today. So I'm going on my 71 years of active selling. And since this is April 5th, 2019, and I'm creating this YouTube live stream, you can see I'm still selling. And, I came from a different era of selling and always basically worked for national companies. I started out, as I said, when I was still in grade school. When I was in high school, I sold china, stainless steel cookware, and cutlery to young working girls who were, planning on marriage and wanting to get their hope chest together, and that was a good sale. When I got out of high school, I immediately went to work for a national company. I lied about my age, if you want to know the truth about it, because at the time let's see, that had been 1961, I think, or 60, yeah, 60, maybe even 59. Anyway, I went to work for Royal Typewriter Company. The manager was a guy by the name of I can't think of his name now, but it really doesn't matter. I told him when I went in to apply, I had read an ad about him looking for salespeople to sell Royal typewriters. Now today there is no more I mean, I don't think there's any. I don't think Royal Typewriter makes. Computers have taken over all that processing and so forth. But anyway, when I went in, I told him that I was had been selling for a national housewares company, and I named the company that sold pots and pans, and must have made a good impression on him because he didn't flinch at the fact that I was so young. Obviously, very young. I was like 8, 19, or 20 years old at the time. But anyway, he put me to work selling, and I had he. There were three typewriter territories for the manual and the electric typewriters. Now, what does all this have to do with my selling? Well, it starts to paint a picture for you, a visual painting picture in your thinking about my experience level. And what you're going to hear in the next few minutes is important for you to know why I've been able to come up with this creative kind of advertising reset. That's a brand that I've created, advertisingreset.com, because it's sorely needed in the United States today. The advertising business has gone completely, absolutely nuts. And unfortunately, the business owners today have been 95% of them have been shut out of any ability to advertise. And if you talk to them about it, I'm talking about the local independent business owners in every city in the United States. I call them zip code cities. And I've even brought it down to a more targeted group of local independent business owners that I call carrier route cities. The reason why I've centered on zip code and carrier route cities is for any one of the businesses that are addressed in those locations where where they're in a zip code or where they're in a carrier route, which is a number of groups of patches of real estate within a zip code. There's more customers right there than any one business can handle, unless you've got a particular purchase that only takes place once every 20 years or 30 years, like roofing or something. But I've even got another approach to attack to get customers easy, which is the name of this video, by the way. Uh, for those businesses. So, but the key thing that I wanted to stress about starting out so early, and I started to say there were three territories in Omaha where I started out with Royal McBee typewriter, Royal McBee Company. McBee was the supply side of the ribbons and the They used carbon paper there. There was no online copying and all that sort of business. They used carbon paper when they used typewriters to make copies. And you have to be old like me, almost 80, to even understand and know about that. But see, I think one of the main reasons he put me to work because he had this territory open from 16th Street East in Omaha. And if you know anything about Omaha, that's basically the warehouse district. But there were a lot of offices in that area. And I saw a great opportunity because, first of all, everybody that you put in that territory had failed. And secondly, there weren't many salesmen out there, especially IBM typewriters, electric typewriters, salesmen out there trying to get attention from the office managers and business owners of the offices in that warehouse district. So I had less sales competition, right? So I looked on the bright side, looked on the positive side, which I always do and always have, despite short periods of feeling sorry for myself if I had a particular failure or something in sales, like all salesmen do. If they're doing anything, they're failing it from time to time because you can't sell everybody. Okay. But the key is I struggled for years with the idea of thinking that I was so good a salesman I could sell everybody. When they said no, after I tried 3 times to close them and gave an excellent sales presentation and handled all the objections before they ever came up and asked them to buy, and they kept saying no. Well, I stood there and tried to sell them, you see. And the smart thing to do when you get in that situation, you gave an excellent sales presentation. You've handled all the sales objections that you know you're going to get before you ever open your mouth and you go in to sell something, because there's only a limited number of objections that you're going to get no matter what you're selling. And if you've been selling that product or service very long, within a week or two, you know exactly what they are. So you got your answers to these objections. You got that loaded up and ready to go, and you can handle them in the sales presentation because you can go into, as you're going through, you say, now you're probably thinking, and then you give what they're going to give as an objection. And you say a lot of people felt that way, but what they found, that's the felt found approach. And what they found was when they looked into this carefully, like blah, 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 and continue on with the sales presentation, that concern was no longer an object for them. And so they went ahead and made the purchase. You see, so that's handling objections before they ever come. There's nobody that really knows how to sell today, because selling, it has to be a matter of, uh, of, of, of prospects, focused prospects, and cold call selling. Now, all the so-called experts today say, well, cold call selling, you can't do that. You got to do this. And they want you to buy this $2,000-$3,000 a year software program that's supposed to do your bookkeeping for you and all that. The other thing, eat up your first 2 months commissions or 3 months commissions if, you can ever even get to the point. And no software ever sold anything in terms of a cold call sale, starting out from scratch with a group of prospects. But if you go out there and pull on the door and you're focused on what you're selling, and so you're pulling on the right doors, so when you go in, you can sell something and you talk to the owner. You don't talk to people that can't buy, like the manager or assistant manager or any of the employees. A lot of salesmen think they got to go in there and make a friend of those people and waste all their time talking to them, and they can't buy a thing. The only person that can buy something is the guy that can sign, or the woman that can sign the check. See? So the first thing you got to do is you got to have a qualified listener that can sign the check and say yes. Every one of them other people can say no, but the only one person there that can say yes, and that's the one that can sign the check. So that's the one you get to talk to, and you don't waste your time talking to anybody else when you go in there. You know, in the first place, you're not in there to make friends. A lot of salespeople think, and sales managers and people who own businesses say, "Well, the first thing you got to do is make a friend out of them." Well, oh, sure. So you waste all this time making a friend out of everybody, and you never get sold. So I never paid any attention to any of that. I was broke in by people that knew how to cold call way back when. And see, then you can establish a call to close ratio. It's the only way you can do it because you start out cold and you make sales calls and you do everything right. And at the end, you get so many closes. That's what's called the call to close ratio. And that's very simple then, how to plan your days that you're going to go out and work. You get on the street at 8 o'clock in the morning, and depending on whatever you're selling and what your prospects, business owners, when you can see them, that's how many that's how many hours you work in a day. And I started out traveling, so it didn't matter when I quit work because I was just headed to a motel anyway. The call to close ratio, when you get good at it, now mine always pushed 60 to 90%. Yeah, I'm gifted, and that is not a brag. I mean, it's just a question of historical facts. And if you're a good salesperson, if you're trained up well, if you have a positive mental attitude, but the most important thing is, do you work hard? See, do you pull on a lot of doors? Because the more doors you pull on, the higher that close ratio gets. Do you understand that? Yeah, okay. Well, now let's get around to get customers easy because I went from there selling I got all the manual typewriter quotas sold down there in that warehouse district, but I couldn't sell the electrics because because the company didn't give me a product that would compete with IBM Selectric. See, every time I got a royal trial, which was the way we sold them, we went in and convinced the owner that if he put the new royal typewriter in, he would get better production out of his people that use typewriters and less breakdowns and more clear typing, which aided the purpose of the typewriter in the first place. And so there was a reason to make the change. Most of them had them old typewriters sitting in there and had made atrocious uh, the typed atrocious. They were hard to type by the ladies, mostly ladies at that time, that were typing on them. And so when you brought in this new one and put it on trial for a couple of weeks, generally speaking, they would purchase it because they could see that everything you told them was true during that trial period. But when I and the manuals I got and the manuals, I had a quota on manuals and I made the quota, but that was all that did was pay me my commission draw. I couldn't make any money that way. In order to make the real commission dollars, I had to sell the electrics. And every time I got an electric trial, of course, the business owner being on the ball and not wanting to buy a cat in a sack and not wanting to buy and being uninformed would call up anybody else that made electric typewriters. And Underwood at the time is a name you're not familiar with, but they made a typewriter line at the time. Underwood, and there was Remington. I made a typewriter line, and there was IBM. Well, usually when they called up after I opened their eyes about having a new one there, instead of using that old rickety one they were using, and why it was better to have a new one, then when they went looking to get something to compare to with mine, they would select the IBM, and the IBM man come out there and there were very few ladies selling IBM at the day today. At that day, today there is, but not at that time. So he'd come out there and he'd put in an IBM trial. Well, it was so much better machine than my I have to admit, than my Royal typewriter that they got the sale. I didn't, but I opened up the lead for them. So I didn't like that. So then I left there and I went to another national company, And the reason I'm telling you this is two reasons. Number one, show you my experience where I started out. 60 years ago with national companies, okay? And the fact that the third national company I worked for, the second year I worked for them, they came to the field. The division sales manager came to the field where I was working and promoted me to district sales manager, because by that time they found out that I could sell and I could train other people to sell like they wanted other people to sell how I was selling. And so I've been a sales manager ever since then. I've created national sales forces, recruited, trained, and managed national sales forces, regional sales forces, statewide sales forces, local sales forces. So the reason I'm telling you this again is not to brag. It's a matter of fact. It's a historical fact. Basically, I know what I'm talking about. Let's put it that way. I'm experienced, okay? And what you're going to hear over the next few minutes is going to open up your eyes, and it's going to prove that I'm experienced, because everything I'm going to say to you is going to make sense to you, and you're going to want to jump on the bandwagon, okay? So let's get into this. Get customers easy. Now, the problem with advertising today is the fact that advertising creates competition. I better say that again. Advertising today creates competition. Now, see, the guys and gals that sell advertising, they love that, because what that means is the more ads they sell, the more ads they can sell, because when a particular company buys advertising, then they've got a perfect opportunity to go to their competitor and sell them advertising, don't they? Because it makes common sense. If you're in business, if my competitor's advertising, I better advertise to protect myself. Okay, and that makes sense. But does it do anything for company A that bought the advertising in the first place, that's trying to get business away from company B? See, advertising today is trying to get customers, because advertising today, that's probably a shocking statement that you're not aware of. You think advertising is designed to get customers. Well, it isn't, because they're the only advertising that's purchased in any effective way today. And when I say effective, you can't advertise once or twice a year and expect that it's going to be effective, because it's not. And if it's not effective, then it's not efficient either. That means you're not going to get a good return on it for the cost that you're going to invest. So you lose on both counts. So advertising, to be effective, has to be done on a regular basis, typically every day or every week or every, on that at minimum. So the only companies that can afford to do that are companies that have multi-million-dollar advertising agent budgets. And the only companies that have those kinds of dollars to spend are companies that already have a significant share of market in their category. Now, if this is over your head, I understand, but you can see that I'm on the right track, and you need a little more help along the way to understand something. Just get a hold of me, because I can help you with that. All right, and explain this to you so that you get the whole picture, and not just the fact that you get the feeling that, boy, there's something here I better get on to. See, but see, so what they're doing with their advertising is they're protecting their flanks, they're protecting their share of market. They're not spending these hundreds of millions of dollars to get new customers. Oh yeah, on the fringes, yes. Generally on the fringes, though, not for that big share of market. Now, if you don't understand what share of market is, if you got a brand or in the category of business you're in, well, you're even too far gone to help, I'll try to even help you there. If you want me to, just get a hold of me. All right. Wilbert T. Sass. You just Google me on the internet. You'll find all kinds of links. Wilbert T. Parenthesis, quote, Ted Sass, S-A-S-S. All right. Sierra Alpha, Sierra. That's Sass. Okay. So, yeah. What you've got is you've got a situation where advertising today is a situation where only a few of the large companies, very large companies with tens of millions of dollars of advertising budgets, can afford to purchase advertising, because the companies that sell advertising are aware of this. They got their head in the clouds and they charge through the roof for their advertising services, especially especially excuse me, I gotta shut this baby down here. Okay, so I gotta shut this off. Okay, because most of it's advertising agencies that handle there's some in-house work that's being done, but the costs involved there are so great that it's really a toss-up whether you're better off as a company to have in-house or whether you're better off as a company to hire the agencies. The agencies cost, they just take and do all the work for the big company, and then they tack on a high profit on top of that for doing that service, and then they sell those services. That's why they fight so hard to get those accounts. But what you got to understand about all that, if you're a businessman or especially if you're a customer, it doesn't matter what the advertising is today. Whatever it is, if you're a customer, or if you're a businessman, if you're a business person, a woman, a man, owner, you've got to add every nickel, and you're in charge and you got the authority to buy the ads and so on and so on. You've got to add every penny that you spend on advertising onto the selling price of whatever it is you're advertising. Plus, then you've got to add a profit, plus all your operating expenses. See, customers aren't generally plugged into this and don't understand this and aren't aware of this because they fawn over these advertising videos. It's gone to videos now because they're higher priced and they make more money off of videos. And customers fawn, they pass them around, even help the advertiser. But isn't this advertising great? And all they're doing is pushing the cost of whatever they're buying through the roof. Is that smart? I don't think so. See, I don't think that's smart. I think advertisers need to be I think there needs to be advertising activists. And that's another brand that I have, by the way. And I think they need to be active in reversing, that is, advertising reset. That's put that in advertisingreset.com. That'll take you to the page or two or three that explain the atrocious abuse of price gouging that's going on in the advertising business. All right. Now, just so you get a little insight into, I've been preaching this for some time, and so far I haven't been jerked off of uh, uh, these video creation situations. But as soon as as soon as this message starts to get out to enough people, you don't suppose they're going to let me continue to talk on their platforms, do you? That's why I'm getting ready to go to live stream on my own brand, my own private label live stream, because then I'll control what I say and nobody can kick me off. Because everything I'm talking about is legal and I can certify that it's legal. But they're not going to continue to let me talk about how the biggest abuser of customers is the franchise industry, in case you don't know it. They add anywhere from 15 to 30%, up to a third, onto the cost of selling whatever it is they're selling to you, because the franchise is there to make money for the franchise, not to help the people that sell from the franchisee locations. And I know about franchising because I bought 10 of the largest franchises at the time in 1969 in Omaha. So I know about the franchise business. I told you I was experienced, didn't I? Yeah, I owned 10 franchises in 1969. And it was the largest franchise. And I found out within 2 years. First of all, they lied to me in the contract, and that's why I was able to pull them to the courthouse doors and get a big settlement out of them. I didn't have to sue them because they settled with me. They knew they were going to lose if they went to court. And so I found out from that experience that a franchise is the last thing you want to do. All you're doing when you buy a franchise, buy a job. Now, I know all these big shot franchisees, they think they got the best thing since sliced bread and so on and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, they are so vulnerable to competition with my system of marketing, advertising, membership, associates program that you can't even believe how vulnerable they are. There's no way they could compete. That's why I call it get customers easy, following my mama. Okay, mama, marketing, advertising, membership, associates. And it's, now, hold on to your hats, $30 a year and $9 a week. And it's an exclusive, I call it business advertising by categories. Now, why do I call it that? Well, because and with my system, when you're a member of my program as a business person, you're actually going to help your customers, not price gouge them and force them to pay more than they have to pay to get whatever it is you're buying and selling, because you're all in it together the way it is now. And the franchises have about, everybody thinks franchises do all the business. Well, that's not true. They got to take the food business. They got about half of the food business in the various categories, and the rest of the food business is split up among all the independent food stores in those categories. Okay, but they charge the same as the franchise systems menus are, because they think, being one store, they have to compete with them on their prices. So if you go look at their menu and you look at the franchise, you'll see it's about the same. Okay, so the bottom line is that the independent stores are charging up to 15 to 30% more than they have to, and so when they buy my program, they don't have to, because I take all that money. I call it Boomerang Membership Associates. Now, membership, Boomerang Membership Income. Okay, now the reason I call it that is because my agreement states that all the money that is put in, the $30 a year and the $9 a week, that comes to $498 a year. Um, when you add it all up, after you've been through 52 weeks, that I take all that money from all the members and I use it to promote Get Customers Easy on a directory basis for zip code cities and carrier route cities. So customers who live in zip codes and carrier routes where there are approved exclusive members of my business program by categories can easily find where they could save up to from up to 1/3 on their purchases on those particular categories of products and services, depending on the type of sale that it is and the repetitive nature of the sale, starting with the food business. And the exclusive does extends out to food businesses in carrier out cities and zip code cities, but it's categorized because nobody's going to eat the same food every day anyway. So the guy that's got the independent pizza store, or the woman that's got the independent pizza store in a zip code or a carrier out, they don't care if there's another one in the zip code, because they understand there's more people, more customers living in a carrier out than a store. Generally, one store can even handle. If all those customers started coming to that one place that's got my program, they couldn't handle them all. That's why I've got to be careful when I go call on businesses, and I have to find out whether a company really wants customers. A lot of businesses are owned by people that are income adjusted. They got this one store, and they think they're doing so great, and nothing can be better. And they wouldn't even want to work any harder because they're looking at trying to figure out a way to sell out and hold everything together, find some sucker to sell that business to that's going to be satisfied with living the way they've been satisfied and had become income adjusted over the last 20 years. And there aren't any people like that left, hardly. So that's why there's so many of them for sale and don't close, because they're asking too much for what the person that got any experience at all knows that they're not going to get a return on the investment, plus make a good salary running that business that they're being asked to pay so much for. Did you catch all that? Probably not. But again, get a hold of me. I'll help you along. See, the reason I know what I'm talking about is because I just said it. That the fact that you didn't connect everything I just said, that has nothing to do with me. That has something to do with you. Your experience level, not mine. You follow that? I hope so. Well, anyway, getcustomerseasy.com. You go there, take a look at what the facts are. And if you're a customer and you like being price gouged, then you keep right on going the way you're going. That's fine. If you're a customer though and you don't like being price gouged, then maybe you ought to become an activist and get a hold of me. There's a way for you to sign up, and I can organize you. So what we've got going there is regular people power. And look, with the internet today, great things can happen. You see, what we've got today, I'm going to go over this and then I'm going to close out on this deal. We've got a situation today in consumerism where we've got the way business is organized today and the way advertising is organized today, where we've got a few big companies that control most everything, even in advertising. It's the same thing. And that's the reason why 95% of the local independent business owners can't advertise. Now, if you go talk to them about advertising, local independent business owners, you know what they'll say? They say, "Oh, I don't want to advertise. I use word of mouth. That's been great for me all the years I've been in business." What they're really saying is, well, I can't afford to buy advertising regularly, so it makes any sense to spend the money. So I have to say something, otherwise I look like a sap. So I say I use word of mouth. Well, word of mouth, if you got 50 or 60 years to build a business, okay, use word of mouth because it works. No question about that. But people used to be, and we've got all these likes and so forth in the social media. But I haven't done any research on it. But I wouldn't hold my hopes out on getting new customers free. I wouldn't hold without some kind of a systematized business plan that is objectively easy to understand, that your reasoning and your thinking processes tells you it's going to work. It's going to work. So because you've got an exclusive on a category or subcategory, if it's in the food business, in a zip code or a carrier route where there's enough people that have a reason to come and see you over anybody else because you're going to save them up to a third. And how are you going to do that? Listen to this carefully. Progressive pricing coupons. That means that you get them into a circle of buying 4 times in a row, each time a little bit higher discount till they max out on the fourth purchase, and then it starts over again. And it just keeps on, keeps on, keeps on giving them. So that means they're getting maximum discounts on their purchases from your business. And if you do a cost audit on the amount of customers you have today, on your average ticket that you're selling today, and you've got capacity to increase, then these are conditional. Now you have to be able to identify your average ticket, and that's your total sales tickets, total sales ring ups, divided by the amount of business that you're taking in, and that tells you what your average ticket is, average sale is. All right. So if you can handle, say, 30-40% more customers at a third less ticket cost, you do the math on that, and you'll end up finding out that you're going to be making a lot more personal income. Now, I'm not going to go into the detail on that. If necessary, we'll do an audit with a CPA and prove it to you, okay? Because it's all mathematics. See, the question is you don't have enough, and by lowering the price. Now, see, what happens is the franchise companies, they can't follow you competitively. If they're selling something for $8 and you're going to lower the price by $2.70, after four competitive regular purchases, the total savings is going to be $2.70. You take that off of $8, and what you've got then is $5.30 ticket, and the franchise can't sell it for $5.30 because they got to pay that other $2.70 to the franchise company, and they got a contract, so they have to pay it. So they can't change their menu that much and still maintain the profit margin at the bottom line. Did you follow that? Well, see, that's why I say get customers easy. So when you have my program, and you see, and when there's say when there's 100 businesses in a zip code and 10 zip codes in Omaha, for example, that's 1,000 businesses paying five. That's a $500,000 advertising marketing budget for Omaha. And Boomerang membership advertising says by written agreement, 100% of that is used to pay for the promotion of the uh, so that customers become aware of the zip code cities directory and carrier out cities directory, so they can go in the zip code where they've registered free at no charge customers and see where there's businesses living operating in where they live close to their home, and also they register for the zip code where they work, that work address zip code, so they know which businesses are there and that zip code, because generally that's going to be a different zip code. So they can save up to a third on the. This isn't money that you're creating. This isn't purchases that you're creating, because these customers are already spending this money. See, they're already spending it. What you do is you funnel them into your business because you're able to save them a third when they buy in a circular perpetual. In other words, instead of going where they're going four times and then eight times and then 12 times and then 16 times, and the way they're doing it now, they just change to a different business where they get the same satisfied food purchase or purchase product, whatever it is that they're purchasing now. Not the same, but yeah, but it's satisfactory. It's let's get it right down to where you live. The question is, do you want to be puffed up that you're buying a certain brand of a franchise food, or do you want to nourish your body? What is it you want to do? Are you willing to? And that I started to say just a minute ago, what we have now is a vast wasteland because of the way business is organized and the way advertising has been, sales promotions and real estate is sold today, and so on and so forth, and the insane way that people in business today think. Okay, that they think they got to be out here in the high income zip codes. Well, half of the zip codes, according to data that's available, are low income zip codes. So you drive out into those low income zip codes in any city, and you're not going to see any franchises or one or two, and that's it. And why do you suppose that is? Well, them people living there, they're not going to spend. They can't spend that kind of money because they're in a low income. And here's the shocker: the data that shows that half of the people are living in low income zip codes. They consider low income $60,000 a year. You understand what all that means? So get into this, because if you're in business today, this is a way for you to get customers easy, which no other advertising can do at my price. The closest one I've been able to find, there's two of them that were out there that were claiming, and they're so stupid. They're recruiting salespeople. These so-called technical what they call apps, online purchasing outfits that have put together what they think are so great of a product, and none of them have ever carried a sales bag in their life. They wouldn't know selling if it came up and bit them on the end of the nose. See, and how do I know that? Because they're stupid enough in their recruiting. I just read one this morning or yesterday. They're advertising in one of the well-known jobs listings programs online. they're bragging that their salespeople can make $180,000 a year. No, they make $500 a sale, and they make 100 and some odd dollars every residual on every sale. Well, I figured that out, and laid it out over the number of days that you're going to work, 5 days a week, say 50 weeks out of the year at $180,000. I figured out how many sales you got to make that you got to make in order to earn $180,000 if you're being paid 500 plus $170 a year or whatever it is, whatever the residual was, and uh, and it amounts to again a situation where they're being people that are gonna see the salespeople today. They don't look at what the market is for them about what it is that they're selling, that they can go out and sell so they can get their sales numbers up. They look at it all together backwards. They look at what the company tells them they're going to earn, but they never ever stop. They don't have enough experience, they don't have enough common sense to work those numbers backwards to figure out what that means in terms of what they have to perform in terms of sales per day in order to earn that kind of money. See, they don't grasp all that. You see, but when you're selling a product, when you're selling a mama program like mine is, marketing, advertising, membership, associates, and it's $30 to get a business started, and it's an exclusive, and it's $9 a week. You sell one of them just about every time you park your car if you work. See, just driving right down the street. And then you start out and you got that $9 a week, and that budget that I was talking about, that boomerang membership income, so that all the money is written for the business owner that purchases into my mama program, that 100% of it is used to promote the group, online advertising, so that people can find who it is in the zip code cities and the carrier route cities where these savings can be had for the consumer based on their registration of their zip code, where they live and where they work, so they know where they're at when they're looking at it when they go to zip code cities or carrier route cities. You see, so when they register, then that gives them the access to those database that listing online. See where they can see where they, because they can only get those savings at Mama business locations that are approved. Because I sell it on an exclusive basis, and there's no franchises, there's no national companies, and the reason for that is so that the pricing can be structured on progressive pricing savings, so that you can get customers coming to you, because the customers may be ignorant, that they may be, and most of them are, and a lot of them are, but they're not stupid. If they're paying $8 for what they're buying on a regular basis, just getting a little bit different flavor or kind, and still spending around $8, and they can go to a different business in the same zip code that's giving them the same quality of food, nutritionally speaking, not the brand, but the nutrition, because that's really what you're buying, isn't it? Are you buying the brand? You chew on the brand? No, you're buying nutrition is what you're buying if you're buying food. So if they're spending around 8, instead of going where they're spending, and this is money they're already spending, see, instead of going there, well, they just go over to the listing where it says, I'll save you up to a third, and you get the same nutritional quality food, and we sell it to you for up to a third less. So that's just like getting a raise, isn't it? And you didn't do a thing. All you did was just change where you're buying. And the nice part about it is, being that there's no franchise businesses or no national companies or regional companies, I don't sell those in my program. And so what that means is the competition can't follow. They can't match your program as an approved member in my program, in my mama. They can't match you. So they're going to lose customer. They're going to lose market share in that category to my approved businesses. I hope you're catching all this. So Uh, uh, so here's the thing: you have to understand all this in order to take advantage of it. And the as far as the guarantee or the written agreement that says I'm going to spend all the money, Boomerang membership income, on the group that is approved to promote it, so customers can find all of my promoted approved members. That's budgeted too, so that 15% of that money that's being spent by the members is used for selling. That's how the membership is increased, because that's what the membership wants. And then 15% is used for the website listings to maintain those and get them published on the internet, so people can go on the internet and find where the approved businesses are. 15% of that. 50% is used to promote those addresses where the listings can be found on the internet. And 20% of that income that each person pays is used for CPA and legal fees and other administrative costs. Now, why CPA? Well, because the agreement says Boomerang membership income says I'm going to return all of this back to the membership. They're going to, first thing they're going to say, unless they're stupid, they're going to say, well, how do we know you're going to, you say you're going to spend it all promoting us, but how do we know that? The answer is very simple. I have a branded program called CPA Verified. Okay. And what that simply means is a CPA, which is a state licensed certified public accountant, that has ethical standards and rules and regulations about the audits that they do. They have to perform up to business standards in the accounting industry, and it's the same ones that are used to that the federal government allows for them to use pay do the audits on people's income and figure out their taxes and submit it. They carry errors and omissions insurance if they make a mistake, an honest mistake, but they're covered then. Uh, but but when they sign it saying that this is the way best practices that I have done an audit, and or this firm has done an audit, and this is the amount of tax that's owed, going by the regulations of the Treasury Department, see, the IRS. And the same thing with my membership. What happens is the CPA does an audit and of all the income from the membership. And then they do a cost analysis accounting of how that money was spent, what categories was that money spent, and when the audit's published online, it zeroes out every quarter. So that proves by a state licensed CPA that my agreement is valid and certified. Can you? Isn't that great? All right. Well, I'm going to get out of here for now, but publish this at homenetexec.com or getcustomerseasy.com. And you go there and it'll be on my Facebook page too, at least as long as they'll let me be there saying some of the things I've said, because they don't want you to hear what I've said on these videos, believe me. And I'll publish it on YouTube, because I'm YouTube live right now in stream. Thank you, Wilbert T. Sass, signing out.